When you begin to live a transcendent life and a transcendent mind, you're not really just asking for money and healing and a job. You are living knowing that all of the atmosphere and all of the universe is in cooperation and partnership with you. Your miracle is not, I need money, but your miracle is whatever is the passion of your heart as this divine identity that you're living, whatever is your deepest passion, you know that the atmosphere, it has been set up by God as a companion to you, and that you look for time and opportunity, and you look for shifts to happen simply because that's the miracle and the transcendence you're looking for. Most people who live outside of this plane may need God to step in and do something. They may be undisciplined in certain areas. They may be full of excuse in another. And so we ask God to pick up the slack wherever our excuses are. And so God doesn't create a supernatural provision to pick up the slack for those who are making constant excuses in their life. And for those who are walking in fear of putting themselves out there to really have their brilliance placed a demand on by life. He doesn't really take up the slack for excuses. But those of us who open our hearts up for the universe to put a demand on the brilliance of who we are, we have the miraculous as a constant companion for us. Because we're stepping out walking on water, the miracle is you won't sink. Because we're stepping out and doing things beyond our credit grade or financial grade, you won't sink. Because you're going to sit there and write something and do something and say something and develop something that's so uncommon that it's going to help people in every culture group. That's a miraculous move you're making. You're going to do something that nobody ever thought you can do, and you're going to do something that you never thought you could do, but because you are living a transcendent life, you're living above the norm, you're living above the acceptable, you're living above the human experience into the divine experience. You are living like what the Jews said to Jesus. They said, we're not stoning you because of a good work. We're stoning you, or we seek to stone you because you are a mere man who claims to be God. So when you're living a transcendent life, you're living above the realm of mere. You're living in your highest self, the highest form of yourself. You are living on par with your mind. Some of us have great minds, but our lifestyle hadn't reached our mind. So a lot of us are living on par with how we think. We think great, so we live on par. We've discovered who to say yes to, and we've discovered what to say no to. And we're not afraid of the consequences that come with saying no to people who wanted our yes. And we're not afraid of saying yes to people who other people thought we would say no to. So you live on that constant elevation. That's right. You're living elevated. You're living the transcendent life, which means above. You're living above, in the above zone. Let me hear you say the above zone. So it's a constant life that you live every day, but you don't live it without having something to apply it to. Most of the problems that we have is we want to do great things without having anything to apply the principles that we learn to. And so we're living, those of us who live in a transcendent life, we're living on this arena where we constantly feel we are the image of God and we are who the Father is. And we're not walking in fear and doubt of it. We're living it out, not being afraid of who's looking. Not being afraid of who's saying something. After a while, you forget that there are haters out there, and you're living from the abundance of your heart. How many of you are living from the abundance of your heart, or are you living wondering who's looking and who's going to say something negative? Or how many of you are living from the abundance of your heart, or are you living watching to see who's going to disagree? Are you living preparing an answer to those who are going to disagree? That's right, man. Living your highest self, removing all excuses. It means because you come from the highest place, you are already a high place. You don't have to try to get to the highest place. Your origin is from the highest. And when you live your God self, you're living from where you come from. You're not living to try to make God pleased to see if he will pick you in the end. See, God is not out children shopping. You know, where you got to put your best clothes on and make sure your nose is clean and make sure you got your socks on and your ash is not showing. You got to clean the ash on your ankles. No, and then he's coming to pick some children for the day, and everybody's on their best behavior to see if God's going to pick them. And then if he doesn't pick you, he said, I'll come back next week and I'll see if everybody's straight and I'll pick you. You are not preparing yourself for God to pick you, to take you home. You already come from a high place. So your consciousness is already high. To live a transcendent life is to live from the place you were created in. It means I'm living from a high place. I'm living above an issue. I'm living above a storm. I'm living above doubt. I'm living above fear. I'm living in it. When I walk in the room, I own the room. When I walk in the room, I own the room. I don't own the people. I own the frequency of the room. How many of you feel that you own the room when you walk in it? I know what to say at any given time. If you invite me, you're in for a blessing. If you don't invite me, you just missed it. How many of you feel that you are the blessing of the room? You are the blessing to the generation. You understand what I'm saying? A transcendent mind is not a haughty mind or some high mind or prideful mind. It means that I understand that I'm from God. I understand that I am from God. So I'm living from where I come from. I live from it, not being concerned at who's going to say something to somebody else when they recognize that there is a different energy in the room. That's a transcendent mind. I live from it. And those who live from transcendent thinking, they never find any significance in low thinking. So you have to determine your friends and your conversation. I say this all the time. You have to determine what's being said and what you're hearing and what you're buying into and what affects you emotionally and what affects your feelings and what affects how you see. Are you with people who constantly celebrate that you are the divine energy? Not that you're better than them, but they recognize that the God in them, they also see in you. They recognize it. And that's where we get the term namaste, which means I honor the God in you that's also in me. So you want to be around people who recognize your Godness and not just your failings and not just your transparency and your weakness, and not just perfection, but I recognize this high frequency in you. I want it around me. I want you around me. I want to be around you. Transcendent thinking. And when you have this transcendent mind, whatever your deficiencies are in your life will submit to your mind. How many of you are seeing the natural things in your life submit to your mind? It's submitting to your value systems. Your poverty will submit to your value systems and make you rich, and you only have $7. Your natural things will submit to you. And it's not looking at how much money you have. It's looking at the power of your mind. The $7 in your pocket. The $7 in your pocket will submit to the divine kingdom of your mind. And your money will say, can I be friends with you? And when $7 look to be friends with you, the $7 is going to spend like $7 million. When $1 says, can I be friends with Christ as you? It'll supply your need. Because you have just gave your money happiness being in your presence. How many of you are giving your own money happiness? How many of you feel that your money is happy being with you? How many of you feel my money, no matter how much it is or how little it is, it's happy being in the presence of you? Whenever the things you own are happy to be with you, they will support you. Whatever you own that's happy to be with you will support you. Whatever you own, no matter how little, if it's happy to be with you, it will support you. How many of you catching what I'm saying? Whatever you own, if it's happy being with you, it will support you. When you are living a transcendent life, whatever you own will catch the zone and it will support you. It will help you. It will aid you because you're giving purpose to things instead of things giving purpose to you. How many of you, before I get out of here, you are giving purpose to things? When you give purpose to your things, they will no longer have to give purpose to you. They will support you. When you give a purpose to a thing, that thing will celebrate you. That's a transcendent. See, that's what Jesus had in him. Jesus is our example, not just for living sinless, but having the mind. How many of you are copying Jesus's mind? Not just needing Jesus to take you to church, but you are copying the way Jesus thinks about himself. But he thought that way. He thought that way when he needed his taxes paid. He said, Peter, go and just catch the first fish and it'll have some money in there. See, his mind put purpose in everything. He gave purpose to fish that was around him. How many of you are giving purpose to nature? See, how many of you understand what I'm saying, first of all? I'm not going to be on here long. When you really live this transcendent life, not just a church life or religious life, but when you live a transcendent life, you give purpose to nature. So when you need the weather to be a certain way, you could command it. When you need time to be a certain way, you could wish it and you could will it and you could give a desire to it. Whatever you need to have, you'll give purpose to it. And that is a purpose life, a transcendent life. You're giving purpose to your things instead of things giving purpose to you. When things give purpose to you, you have to buy a car to be accepted in the game. They'll like you if you drive a certain car. If you live in a certain house, now I'm accepted because I got the thing to get me through the door. But when you give purpose to things, you will no longer need things to get you through the door. Things will look for you to give purpose to it. In Genesis, the word of God, the historical artifacts of God through the scripture says that God brought all the animals to Adam to see what he would name them. He brought the animals to him. He didn't bring Adam to the animals. He brought the animals to him to see what he would call them. So when you live this transcendent life, things will come to you to see what you would call it. Money would come to you and say, what new thing can you call me? Money and wealth will come to you to say, what else can you call me? Sickness will come to you and say, call me well. What else can you call me? A solution would come to you and say, what else can you call me? A problem would come to you and say, what else can you call me? Life will come to you and say, what else can you call us? That's a transcendent life. That the blessings will look for you. Seek the kingdom. Live from the kingdom, and all the other things will just be added. It will just come. Transcendent thinking, which means constantly you're living transcendent. You're living a highness. You're living in a divine realm. Constantly you're living it. Constantly you're living knowing that it's more than money that you need, but you need a control of time. You need a control of the future. You need a control of the present and the past. You need a control of time, constantly. And it can be rather exhausting if you're tired and multitasking and everything. Scripture says it chokes the word. Thorns choke the power in you. When you're just caught up with the cares of life. How many of you guys are caught up with the cares of life? You're caught up with cares. You're caught up with my kids. I got to pay the bills. I got to pay that. Got to get a new tire. And after a while, you get so caught up in the reality till reality will help you to unbelieve. Reality has a way of taking away the power of belief and having you settling for the common. Reality will have you to close your eyes to who you are and look at where you are held hostage. You got to remove the thorns so it won't choke. How many of you are feeling choked right now? Which means I'm wanting to do it, but I got so many other things to do. When you live a transcendent life, you're doing what you want to do. You're living your desire, and your desire has come to new reality. Transcendent living, transcendent mind. Bless you.